city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab.
Oh my gosh, holy goodness. I don't even know what to say. How about an intro for today? The Colorado Avalanche have made a goalie trade, and so we are here in front of you to give an instant trade reaction. That's right. The Avalanche have done and made a goalie trade. They acquire Mackenzie, Blackwood, Givani Smith, and a 2027 fifth-round pick for Alexander Georgiev.
Ezra's a little happy about it.
A 2026 second-round pick and a 2025 fifth-round pick. Oh, my goodness. And wouldn't you know it, on the fly, we're able to gather the entire panel of the Mile High Hockey Lab within a half hour of the news dropping. So cheers to the four of you, Brendan Boat, Ezra Parter, Jackie K, and Evan Liu. I am Adrian Hernandez here in the Mile High Hockey Lab. Holy moly, where even to begin? I'm going to send it first to, let's go with Evan. Evan, I know you're ready for me, dog. What do you got?
Well, okay, I'm ready. I'll say that because I walk in. So first off, I'm running around with a chicken with its head cut off because I'm like, when I'm working, I have to pack. I'm flying home to Denver tomorrow, and I walk in the door and I get a text from my dad, and I'm like, oh my God, they traded Georgiev. So shout out, Dad, if you're listening. Then I'm like, wait a minute, what? And then, lo and behold, there it is, right? First off, I don't do this very much, but first off, holy shit. Because
family show.
Wow. That's a big deal. This is a big deal. Big move. A lot of Avs fans wanted Mackenzie Blackwood. I don't blame them, quite frankly.
Included.
There you go. There's an example right there with Brendan. Yeah. And like it's just a massive move. Now I will say I'm a little bit disappointed that Kovalenko's gone.
Right.
I will let Ezra share the good news of a Kovalenko going, since I mentioned it in the chat. But I'm a little bit hesitant about Kovalenko leaving and hesitant about Givani Smith coming on the other end. Like,
yeah,
he's not done a ton.
I can tell you a little bit about Givani.
Brendan probably knows the most out of all of us about Givani Smith, but like in 6 games this year, he hasn't put up any points versus Kovalenko. He's played 28 and he's put up 8 points. So like,
well, I'm curious. I'm curious Ezra's angle, given his, and Evan, great stuff there. Thank you, sir. Given his California lineage, like you tend to know a little bit more about the San Jose Sharks, and their situation. So, how has Mackenzie Blackwood played this season? Is that really what has earned him this trade? Is his play this season as compared to like the body of work over his career?
Yeah, definitely. This season is the peak of Mackenzie Blackwood so far in the NHL. I mean, he's been up and down throughout his career, and he's on and up right now. And the hope is that this is like the real Mackenzie Blackwood, because it is Mackenzie Blackwood's potential to be a good NHL goalie. That was like forever, always what he was supposed to be. In New Jersey, he couldn't quite put it together. Then there was some like weird COVID vaccine stuff that got him kind of ousted from the locker room. So, you know, who he is as a person, I don't know, but whatever. I love the opportunity to bring in a goalie who's like in the peak prime of his career, playing well. That's what this team needed, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we're clamoring for. And I got to say, I mean, I'm not saying that this is a fair comparison for Blackwood, but the last time the Avs traded a Kovalenko for a goalie, it was Patrick Waugh. So it worked pretty well. I don't think Blackwood is ever
Patrick
going
Waugh.
to be anywhere near Patrick Waugh, obviously.
Yeah.
But if he can just be like Darcy Kemper, oh God, what a godsend, you know. So I think there's a real high likelihood for that part of this trade to work out. Losing Kovalenko is sad, but Blackwood, he's got 3.9 goals saved above expected this year, and Georgiev, I think, is at minus 6 million or something like that. So I mean, that's a big trade. That's a big change. And God, I just like him. I just like him. I think his game is the kind of game that's steady, solid, but he makes saves in moments where you think he doesn't have a chance every once in a while. And man, that's wonderful.
I like the prospect of him playing his best hockey right now and coming and playing on the best team he's ever played on. I am kind of in a little bit concerned because, you know, like the past is the best indicator of future results. I will say, though, like it's not uncommon for a goalie to come on at this kind of time frame in their career where Mackenzie Blackwood is. And when you consider, as you mentioned, Ezra, his expectation kind of throughout his career has been to become an NHL goalie. So, Brennan, you had some things to add about Givani Smith. I'd like to hear that. And I also like to hear the other side, because I think me and Ezra are probably in favor of this trade. Still not sure on Evan, but I'd be willing to bet my whole mortgage on the fact that Brennan and Jackie aren't in favor of this move. Brennan, you go first.
Well, the Avs need weight. They need heaviness. They need grit. Givani Smith's going to bring that.
Okay.
I will bring it on the fourth line, the third line. Doubt he'll get up to the third line, but he'll bring that, you know, I'm going to throw my shoulder into you whenever you're anywhere near the boards type of play.
Okay.
It's another Ross Colton type of play whenever Ross Colton's on the fourth line, third line. Think about when Ross Colton was with Tampa. That same type of play.
Gotcha.
In fact, that's exactly what Givani Smith did when he was playing for Tampa. He was that type of player.
Right.
So, Tampa.
So now tell me about how do you feel about Mackenzie Blackwood?
Well, considering he has a .909 save percentage with the Sharks right now, and a 3 goals allowed average right now with the Sharks, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's saying something. And where, you know, Georgiev is a .874 save percentage with the Avs, and a 3.38 goals allowed average with the Avs.
Yeah.
So I think we're getting the better end of the deal on this one.
Okay.
And
well,
plus I've always liked Mackenzie Blackwood.
Okay.
I've always thought that he's someone that's needed to come here. He's for some reason always played well against the Avs. It's one of those ones that's like you never look forward to playing against him.
Gotcha. Well, we have the chat is blowing up right now, so let's give some love and thank you folks very much for tuning in. We have 300 people joined us right now, just like off the hop, which is really awesome. We got some usuals in here. We said, here's the first question. We have a new tandem within a week. That's wild. Yeah, that's true. Can you imagine? Like 3 weeks ago, it was Georgiev and Annunen. And now the Avs have 2 completely different goalies in that. Pretty nuts. What else we got here? Should we extend Blackwood now before he goes on a Vezina run? Well, before we answer that question, Jackie, I want to hear your side of this because I feel like your love for Kovalenko might weigh heavily into how you feel about this trade. I think I have you muted too, so don't forget to unmute.
I was going to ask you what would be the reason that you would think that I would be less in favor of this.
Just because
is that your reason?
Yeah, I think you have always been on the front foot in terms of standing for the young guys, kind of like Kovalenko, who's not necessarily young, but kind of in the coming ups of the system. But I guess I would have lost my mortgage today if you're going to tell me otherwise.
You lost it twice.
Yeah.
There's a few things to unpack there. So
okay.
Let's start with the forwards. Let's see. I disagree that the Avs need a plug. I don't think that makes them better. I still think they're depth is pretty thin, especially in the bottom six. If this puts Ivan on the third line permanently, I could like that better.
Or higher, or higher, or higher, or higher.
He's not. They're
Well,
not
he's
winning
been
if he's
skating on the
higher
fourth
than
line
that.
even with Kovalenko in the lineup.
Second
so.
line, second line.
But 22 career points does not get me excited. He hasn't played more than 36 games since 2021. So, and he cleared waivers, I think, not too long ago. So, I would like to see him in Loveland if they want to use him as a call-up. I would prefer that. If he immediately slots into the lineup, not so much in favor of that. They don't need plugs. I don't care about this. Oh, they need to intimidate or whatever. That's not how this team wins. They need skill, puck skill, and to be able to transition the puck. That's what they do. Yeah. So, not a fan there. Kovalenko. It's funny that everyone thinks like I'm devastated because it's Kovalenko. I mean, the writing was on the wall. I didn't like how he was treated when he showed up in the spring. And the continuing marginalization of his game, playing 6 minutes, which they do to Ivan as well.
Yeah.
And
Malinsky.
Well, that too. That's a whole nother story. But like they weren't using him, and here's the other thing: he was being RFA this summer, so he would need a raise, and I think Benner wasn't as enamored, and you wondered how far the promises train was going to take him. So if this needed to come to a head before he goes to Loveland, before conversations about his playing time, because as I said before, the KHL trade deadline is at the end of December. Mm-hmm. So if anyone has leverage to return, that would be then. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I get it. If they weren't committed to him, I get it. It's also hilarious that this was their one drafted prospect that quote unquote made it. No. We can roll that one back. They're still at none. And now that they got rid of Annunen and Kovalenko, they're two players from the 2018 draft class gone. So now the goalie part. It is funny because this does go into my 6-month long. Some stuff's going to happen. They're not set here.
Mm-hmm. You've been saying it. Yep, you're totally right.
So this... They got their deal. I'm fine with Blackwood. I get it. Like, he has good stats on the Sharks. He could be an upgrade. I wasn't as down on Georgiev as maybe the public was. I mean, we saw how well he played in Detroit. So in the long run, I don't know if Blackwood gives them a better chance. But I will say the excuse is gone now. So,
well, that's kind of where.
Well, there's another big part to this. Before
go ahead. Sorry.
My concern is Blackwood is on an expiring contract, right? So, this is a rental deal. My concern about the goaltending is the next step, the next guy after Georgiev. I've been saying that for months. So, it's nice that they get maybe a guy they prefer better, a guy they targeted. He's going to be a UFA. So what does that mean? That means big bucks. Mm-hmm. And are they prepared to pay him a hefty raise? Or is this just a 4-month solution?
Well, that's a good question. And maybe in the San Jose Sharks realm of things, Nabokov truly is the future in the eyes of the Colorado Avalanche upper establishment right now. And I think they're hopeful that sorts out between now and next year. But that's just me spitballing here.
Well, Wedgie does go through next year.
Yeah, so you've got that set. I don't think this organization wants to just plug and play. What will he be at that time? 22 years old. Correct. Goalie from Russia. I'm sure they would love a year in the AHL. But so then the Avs still need to make a decision here because Blackwood's not going to sign a 1-year extension. He's going to want a big extension. So you either have to decide to do that or let him walk, and then you're back at the same spot. So
Gotcha.
like I'm never as concerned about like this is the year, this is the team, we got to do it, we got to go for it, because if they're banking on this team winning the cup, I'd say good luck. But
well, that's
putting all your assets and your resources towards it. I would have much rather had them find somebody that could work for the next 2, 3, 4 years.
I totally agree with you based on what I know. Where I'm curious, I have two reactions to kind of what you had to say there, Jackie. I think what this has more to do with when you bring up like being not so low on Georgiev as the public, I kind of agree with that, but I wonder how the room felt. And I wonder how big of a role that plays when it comes down to, like, if you have, for instance, and I have nothing to say that this is truly happening, but for an instance, if McKinnon is saying like, hey, we need to make a move in net, I think management hears that and takes that very, very seriously, no matter how things might be changing, yada, yada. And in terms of like this window, this championship window that you talk about, like I said, with what I know now, I agree with you. I don't know that they should be making moves to cash in. However, I don't know that I know everything, because this whole move leads me to other questions, because a lot of people are telling me, oh, Ivan made Kovalenko expendable. Well, the Avs still need forward depth, despite that possibly being true. What does this trade tell you, if anything, about a potential Landeskog return? And more so with the contract negotiations as it pertains to Blackwood being a UFA, what does this tell you about the Mikko Rantanen contract that should be coming up soon?
Well, if they're getting rid of Mikko, they need a lot better than Blackwood.
Yeah.
They should have been getting Sturkin.
Yeah, well, but I guess I'm saying money wise, because I think the move here is you're hoping, especially if you're Blackwood, that you do go on that Vezina caliber run type season, and you do help the Avalanche find postseason success, so that on the opposite side of that, you can say, look, I want to stay here. I want to be an Avalanche for the rest of my life. And in the meantime, the Avs don't even need to sign Mikko. So the timing of things could get a little hairy. If the Avs are more successful than we kind of see right now, is kind of where my head's going with that.
Well, just to answer the Ivan thing real quick, what helps him is also he's at the start of an ELC. It was a 2-year ELC, but he's younger than Kovalenko. The Avs have more team control. So I think there's value there. Like, I know people are saying, oh, he's the next to go. He's the next trade chip. I mean, he's now your quote-unquote internal guy. Like, how stupid would it be to get rid of him, too? Like, at some point, you need actual depth. You need not Kiviranta and Givani Smith. Like, you have to invest in something. If you want somebody that can play more than 5 minutes and score more than, like, 10 points, you need to invest in it. So if that's the choice between the two, I mean, I might have made that choice myself, but it has to mean that you are now valuing Ivan, because he's going to give this lineup more than what you're going to throw him away for at the deadline.
Yeah. I think Ivan is here to stay. That's just my hopes and dreams for this Avalanche team. I think it may be true that he made Kovalenko more expendable as a trade piece. I also think it's a good time to trade Nikolai Kovalenko, given the fact that he hasn't played so many NHL games. So sometimes you can play your way out of value, and I think there's enough mystery to Kovalenko's game still that a team like San Jose is willing to see him as like an upgrade to the trade. So that was nice. I think, honestly, like, the best bit of news with all of this is a couple months ago, if you would have told me that the Avs were going to be able to trade both Annunen and Georgiev and also shore up a starter and a backup in the process, I wouldn't have believed you. So I think if you look at it that way, this is a pretty good bit of business. What's your guys' reaction to that?
I think I just want to touch on the contract thing really quick, because that's a really interesting point, right? That's something I didn't really think about. I think I've kind of come to the acknowledgement that Landeskog probably won't be back for the regular season, because I just don't see how it works cap wise. Like, there's no way. Yeah, like the Avs are saving about $1 million on this deal. Blackwood's contract. I'm sorry.
They retained $400,000. So
14% of Georgiev.
That's about what they spent on Wedgwood though, so it's sort of a wash at that point.
Yeah, it's only kind of a wash. So like it's going to be difficult for Landy to be back in the regular season. I've kind of accepted that. As for the Rantanen contract, that's going to be really interesting because do the Avs truly believe that Blackwood is their guy going forward? Because then you might run into issues, especially if Landeskog's still trying to come back, because then you've just got cap hell.
Yeah, well, it's like the timing of it that could be awkward. Not so much like of course you want Mikko Rantanen to be a Colorado Avalanche, and I think mathematically it'll make sense and it'll work out. But what does the timing do to psyches, I guess, is the question. Like, say the Avalanche do pull the trigger and they sign Mikko Rantanen. On one side, Mackenzie Blackwood might think to himself, sick, the team I'm on just secured one of their best forwards for the next 8 years. On the opposite end of that, though, is he might say, well, I'm playing in a contract year and I want to stay here. So where are they going to come up with that money? Obviously, like I said, I think they'll find it. But where things get sort of awkward is if they don't spend the money on Mikko Rantanen and Mackenzie Blackwood does start to just go on an absolute tear and he starts to price himself in the market in an uncomfortable way, which would be tremendous because it would probably mean hardware. But it's just an interesting, I guess.
There's no situation where Mikko walking works for this team.
No, I don't think so either. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the longer it takes, the more expensive he is to me. And I think
for sure. That's what it was last summer. I said it's not getting cheaper. I don't know what they're expecting to accomplish.
And because you throw a UFA at this probably the most important position as we've seen it be now, into the mix of those contracts, things get a little bit, because if it's not Mackenzie Blackwood that you bring back, who is it and what can you spend on that? So it just we're getting into the cap economic things where they need to make decisions, and they'll obviously, the decision to bring Mikko back is an easy one. The thing that they're really betting on for me is that Mackenzie Blackwood just goes off between now and the end of June and July.
I think they're betting on better, but maybe not.
Well,
maybe not.
But I mean, to be fair, better is going to be pretty good considering the Avs have had the worst goaltending in the league for a while.
Well, doesn't mean a cup necessarily if you can't score at 5-5. So I don't know.
And I want to point out something. This is the fifth trade that we've done with San Jose since 2020. 3 of them have been for goaltenders.
Yeah. Well, that's
Dubnyk,
because
Bibeau, and now
that's
and that Bibeau trade. Oh my God, that's an all-timer.
Really...
People don't realize it, but that one was an all-timer.
Yeah. Don't get me going on that one.
I think that happens because you can't really tell. You're going to take the good with the bad for a goalie who's on kind of a team that struggles, and they've struggled for some period of time.
In the last trade we did with the Sharks, we have none of those players anymore, except if you want to consider McDonald, but McDonald's back on a new contract after going back to the Sharks. But
yeah, well, Dubnyk retired, but yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but I mean, you get my point. It's like
totally.
we retained none of those players, and Ryan Merkley's not cool.
That's Cal. We wouldn't have retained Cal either.
Yeah.
But my point is that Ryan Merkley was supposed to be good, but Ryan Merkley joke.
Well, I think it doesn't matter so much the team or what we got back. The point is they're using resources and they're not getting anything. They're not retaining it. It's not continuing. Yeah.
Especially when you have 2 coaches telling me that he's a work in progress. And I'm like, no. I hope he's not.
Yeah.
I mean, the prospect swaps or whatever, they're just hoping for just a lotto ticket at that point. I get that. But, here they're using another second. At least the interesting part to me is it's next year's second. So I think they really need to make that Rangers second and not throw it away at the deadline, because they need something of value. It's continuous value out, and you're not getting anything internally. At some point the wallet's empty, and so they still have to be mindful of that. I get that it's win now, but like I said, you want to be getting some pieces back with longevity. That's why it worked when they got Lehkonen. It was a rental deal, but it was a huge deal for a big piece moving forward. That's a good deal. That's a good trade. When you throw a second away on Lars Eller, that's a bad trade. So you need to do less throwing assets away and more getting long-term assets in, unless you want the window to be done in like 2 years, and then we all go home and don't care about this team anymore.
Oh boy. Well,
this trade I think is a good trade. They lost a second round pick. Yes, everything else kind of washes out. Kovalenko has more upside than Smith. I think Smith's an AHL player, but Blackwood has more upside than Georgiev. I think Georgiev's an AHL player right now. So, they lost a second round pick, but they lost that second round pick to get an opportunity to have stability in goal, and that's wonderful for this season. That's necessary. So long term, it maybe is an asset that they feel like they've lost, but absolutely for this season alone, whether Blackwood stays or goes, that's a win in my book.
There's always the next deadline. There's this deadline. There's next year's deadline.
Yeah,
at some point you've spent it all. There's nothing left.
Well, I think
you have to spend
be
to win.
fair though. I mean, it was sunk when Georgiev started to blow it. Like your costs. I mean, you really want to look at the alternative. It's still paying Georgiev way more than he should be paid to be way worse than he's supposed to be. And I don't think that is a good business model going into the future either. I don't think we were going to wait out Georgiev's lack of success. We were just going to keep paying him until we decided it was time to pull the trigger. And so I, for one, in terms of that, I'm glad that they just pulled the ripcord now rather than, painting through the next few months and then getting to the deadline and having those assets. But as we all know, everything's way more expensive at the deadline. So like getting this trade done now, to me is important because the longer it takes, just like the Rantanen contract, the longer it takes, the more expensive it's going to be. I think when you look at this trade on its surface, it hurts to lose Kovalenko. It hurts to lose Georgiev, but it only hurts to lose Georgiev because of what he was supposed to be, not because of what he is. And so, the same is true for Kovalenko. He hurts because of what he might become, not because of what he is. And so in the sense of solving the issue as it sits today, I think the Avalanche did the job for that. And then, the Avs are proven to not invest in goaltending anyway. So in the future, they'll probably just bring in another affordable, serviceable starting goalie with a pretty affordable and serviceable backup and just run it back again. I think that McFarland and Stakic are still the guys running the show, and that's proven to be how they kind of go about this process. Georgiev was just the latest installment.
I'm glad that excuse is gone though. More.
Totally.
We don't have to hear about it. We're not blaming it. Oh, the Avs are a great team. If they could only have goaltending. I think anybody that's watched more than like 3 games of this team can see that there are issues, especially how they start in the first period. They routinely get outshot in the first, maybe even second period. Things like that. I think there's more to it, and it's nice that they feel like they've solidified. Because you don't know, we haven't seen him play, but yes, in theory, he's a better goalie. He's a stabilizing goalie.
I honestly think we're going to see a lot of those things change because there's an element to this that is.
I don't believe the whole they're just so mentally wrecked that.
No, there is an element to that though.
I agree.
You're going into a game with a guy in that you don't trust.
Yes.
It's hard to play that way.
Mm-hmm.
It changes the way you play.
Vouch
and
for
I
that.
think also the front office. I can't imagine that McKinnon wasn't every time he talked to Chris McFarland or Joe Sakic being like, "Hey, did you get us a goalie yet?" And now they can finally stop doing that. And having a little bit of a renewed vigor for your game and your team is a good thing. I think those bad first period starts could be a symptom of a lot of things, but they could be a symptom of not trusting your goalie.
Confidence.
I mean, if they're that reactionary, where the players just have to go up to the front office and be like, "You got to do something." I mean, then there's no plan.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I mean. I don't mean
the whole.
they
did it with Ryan Johansson. It was because the players needed him to go, and I mean, he sucked, but
they did it with Matt Duchene, and that worked out too.
Well, I think here's the thing, though. The funny thing about it is that Georgiev's best game probably of the entire season was just on Saturday against the Red Wings. He was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. He was sliding around everywhere. He looked like an NHL goalie again. It was lovely to see, right? And I thought, oh, okay, maybe he's turned the corner a little bit. Maybe the Avs can work with this a little bit. But lo and behold, here we are. So
well, it's like we've been flip-flopping with that his entire time here in Colorado. He'll be terrible for 3 straight games and then get a shutout. And then it's like, oh yeah, he's back. He's an NHL goalie. Look at how
the first year was really good. He was really good the first year.
Well, I wonder if that's where the lesson to learn from the Georgiev experience is. Like, they took a swing on a guy who has the upside to be an incredible goaltender. Like, he had the skill and the athleticism to be a wonderful player, but he didn't have the mental side of it. And that was always the question in New York, was whether he could like deal with, like, he got in a fist fight with a teammate. He like things on the mental side of his game were always a question mark. And I wonder if the lesson to learn from this is the goal. If the Avs are saying let's stay cheap in goal, the guys to pay less money are either guys who have skill but don't have the temperament, or don't have maybe the upper echelon skill but have the temperament. And maybe the lesson is go for those lower skill, better temperament kind of guys, like a Wedgwood. I don't know Blackwood's temperament. I don't know that about him, but I wonder if that's a lesson that they learned.
How about Francouz? I mean, you want to talk about temperament? Like, I totally agree with you. That's a great point. Like, that's honestly what really stuck out to me. Just even when we got Scott Wedgwood into town, was how immediately I appreciated the goalie having a charismatic and leadership type presence. Not to beat up on Georgiev, but like every time he's in a post-game presser, he just looks like he's pissed off and that he just stuck it to the man. When really,
those kind of goalies too, though. Let's
doubt.
Say goalies don't have the reputation of being.
But like Scott comes in and he says, the line, which I loved, was the 4 lines, 6D, 2 tendies all year. Let's go. I love that. And like, I just think that the vocal, open culture and brotherhood side of this thing is really missing in the Colorado Avalanche locker room. And I think these moves that you're seeing the Avs make in terms of the goaltending speak to that, not just how bad the play has been, because I think you're totally right, Ezra. Like, it's not like the Georgiev has been wishy-washy. Straight up, point blank period, he's been bad this season. Statistically, historically bad. And that sort of thing weighs on you the minute you see the lineup, not a second into the game. Like, you get the lineup sheet and you see 40s in net, you might in the back of your mind go, well, damn. And that, to me, I think can contribute to some slow starts. Yeah, exactly.
No, Peter, I don't hate the Avs, Peter. God.
Right. Brennan, why do you hate the Avs? How dare you? No, he's just
it's
teasing.
me. I'm the one that hates the Avs, right?
Yeah, I'm like, that's misplaced.
I will say this. I want to tack onto something here real quick, because I'm like, okay. I'm done packing. I can finally sit down and like catch up on things. And Frank Cervalli made a really good point here, and I want to touch on it. Is that the big question now will be how Blackwood handles increased pressure to win in Colorado. Along with injury, he seemed to struggle with that in New Jersey. The pressure was off in San Jose for him. Now he's the guy to lead the Avs back to the Cup, right? That's a really good point. That's something I didn't consider, I guess, right? Yeah. And I think that's not just a Blackwood thing. I think it's like an Avalanche goaltender thing, right? Yep. I think there's so much pressure here. You look at Grubauer when he was here. There was a ton of pressure on him. Ultimately, it didn't work out for him. Kemper, there was a lot of pressure on him. It worked out for him in his 1 year here, right? Mm-hmm. And Georgiev was expected to be that guy. Like we touched on, he was great in his first year, but then kind of went downhill after that. So now it's going to be really interesting. This is pretty much, I think, like Jackie mentioned earlier, this is pretty much a 4 or 5 month trial for Blackwood to really see if it's worth it for the Avs to invest in this guy. And I don't know. I'm not sure yet.
That's a great point. That's a great point, because you have to wonder about the psyche. But like, I, for one, hope that the Avalanche did their best to find someone that they think will thrive within that. Because we've heard from Nathan MacKinnon when he says, we want the expectation, like that is what a championship team wants. They want the expectation to win. And I think the sooner they find someone who is in alignment with that in between the pipes, the sooner they'll find success. We keep talking about Georgiev having his best game the other night against the Red Wings. What was the outcome? what's been the outcome in most games where the Avs have gotten good goaltending? Pretty dang good. I would be willing to surmise that
But
any
it's
game where the
also
Avs,
Red Wings.
I know, but I'd be willing to wager that anytime the Avs this season have held their opposition below 2 goals, they've probably won.
I'll say no. They lost to Winnipeg.
Okay, well,
yes.
the Winnipeg Jets wouldn't lose in the first month of the year. So.
Hey, I'm just glad the
Winnipeg's-
excuses are off the table. So
Yeah,
You're
Winnipeg
right.
games are such hit and miss games because that was like one of the few games that I brought my 5-year-old to last year, and they got blown out 7-0, and my kid's just like, "Can we go?"
Yeah, that's the one.
I was like,
that couldn't-
"Wow, okay, yeah, I'll agree with that one."
Predators 2 goals, Avs 1. Kings 2 goals, Avs 1. Flyers 2 goals, Avs 1. Caps 1 goal, Avs 1. Panthers, we won't talk about that one.
While he's reading those off, I want to share my screen real quick and show something, because why wouldn't you want this guy from someone? So give me 1 second here.
We have 625 live.
How would you not
viewers.
want a guy with a black eye during his headshot? Come on.
Look at that.
And better yet, I didn't realize this. Today's his birthday. So
Oh,
No
wow.
way.
birthday,
That
Mackenzie
is
Blackwood.
Wow.
Your birthday gift is uprooting your life and moving to Denver.
Hopefully somebody bought you some gift cards so that you can go get some new luggage and get
I mean,
yourself
happy
over
birthday!
here.
You now have a chance at the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. You now get to play with one of the best teams in the NHL. I mean, I, for one, if I was him, sure, it would be nerve-wracking, but also it'd just be like, wow, I just got a huge upgrade in life.
There's only so many teams that could have even made this move this early.
And wasn't he also wearing number 29?
Yeah, he was. So yeah, what is he gonna wear? That's a good question.
Yep. Yeah,
40.
he's worn 29 in Jersey. He's worn 29 in San Jose. So
Breaking news: Nathan McKinnon gave it to him.
Yeah, he's so excited to have him. McKinnon switching to 40.
Yeah, can you
Probably charge like $1 billion for that.
Well, I was just gonna say we have 631 live people and viewers right now. So thank you all so very much. Please head over to the website if you enjoy this content, milehighhockey.com. All 5 of us contribute to the site. We write different pieces over there. And give us a follow on X at all caps MHH_lab and at Mile High Hockey. And as usual, give all 5 of us a follow on those social media platforms. I think we're all on all of them, Blue Sky, whatever it may be. And all of our shows are on Spotify. If you are interested in checking out what we've done up to the date, you can see that we actually just released our 83rd episode today. And we will have our 84th episode on Wednesday. But let's get back to the trade talk, and let's get to when we might see Mackenzie Blackwood make his debut as a Colorado Avalanche. Let's look at the schedule here. The Avs have the Penguins tomorrow in Pittsburgh and Utah in Colorado on Thursday. Are we thinking
when did
probably
he
at home?
play last?
Let's
and
see.
also, where is San Jose right now?
He played last on Saturday in Florida.
But
Yeah.
where is San Jose?
Where
Like
are
as
they?
a
What's
team?
their
Hang
next
on now,
game?
brother. Let me get there.
They're
dog.
on an East Coast road trip, so their last game was in Florida. Tuesday they play Carolina, so they're probably still out east.
So he can probably link up in Pittsburgh then, is what we're hearing.
I would guess he backs up in Pittsburgh.
I would agree with that because I mean,
Okay.
especially too. This is a big talking point too. Is that the Eagles just lost Kevin Mandolese, right? That was
Yeah.
yesterday
Mhm.
to injury. So the
I
Avs,
can find that video too. Give me a second.
They really only have in the organization right now that could get to Pittsburgh is Wedgwood, of course, who's with the team, and maybe Blackwood and maybe Trent Miner. And I don't know. I don't think the Avs would want to fly Trent Miner out for one game in Pittsburgh and that's it.
Yeah, you would think
I
he could
guess-
show up at least.
Yeah,
I-
I guess that at least Wedgwood that Blackwood will be in Pittsburgh. I don't think he plays personally. I think Wedgwood will probably play just because he has the hot hand. He's the one that just had a shutout on last night against the New Jersey Devils. So
Yeah.
I would not be surprised to see Blackwood. Jesus, that's gonna be hard. Blackwood on Thursday back at home against Utah.
Love it. I love it.
And then didn't they both play for New Jersey?
They did. Yes, I believe so. Blackwood. Yep, absolutely.
I think they were there together even.
The joke has been made plenty of times. The Avs now have a lot of wood. They have Miles Wood,
Who also played in New Jersey.
Wood times 3
At the same time.
at the same time.
But we're not going to see Miles Wood for a long time. So
No, unfortunately.
Well, okay, so we think he's going to get the nod against Utah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they rushed it. They want to see the new toy. I mean, I get the point about Wedgwood at the shutout.
Yeah,
but
I've got
they
so
like
many
to
dirty
see their
thoughts
new
going
toy.
through my head right now.
don't do it.
And, like,
I'm just putting it on mute.
I would think everybody who's watched Pittsburgh lately would say that's a game you put your backup in. So
Yeah.
Wedgwood makes a lot of sense. But also it could be a game to get Blackwood going. So who knows?
But you got to remember the Tampa game. They're going to be very exhausted. So that might not be the prettiest game either.
Yeah, there's truth to that.
Well, my bold prediction was that the Avs would make a trade with Pittsburgh while they were in Pittsburgh, and I should have just said that the Avs will make a trade.
They could still make a trade. Who knows?
Yeah.
There's still assets left on the tree. Pull them all down.
That's
Pittsburgh has the really, don't they?
Well, I'm just hoping that the Avs trade for Crosby in the middle of our 87th episode. We're just going to bring that into life.
Might want to be winning the division before that happens.
Well, you know what, Jackie? What if they win like 8 straight and they are?
And they got to pay him like 1.87 or something like that.
I said $878,087.
Yeah, because he's like really, really like superstitious about getting paid 8.7 something or 8.7 something, and it's just ridiculous.
Well, hold on. I want to go back to a point that Jackie mentioned because I don't think we've touched on it yet, unless I missed it. The assets part. The Avs keep draining assets now, and like the more that I've learned about this team over the years, and like the more that I've started following them and a lot more in depthly of like what is this future of the team going to look like in like 5 years when there's no draft picks and you're running with Nikita Prishapov on the top line? Like, I don't know.
It probably won't be Prishapov. It'll probably be whatever
Chris
Givani Smith they trade for.
Idea. But like, obviously, this is more of a Brennan and Jackie talking point than anything. But like, man, like I don't know what. I got to go look and see what the draft picks are for the upcoming drafts. But like, the Avs don't have a lot, and especially if they're going to make moves in the future, they don't have a lot to offer. And we've touched on that before, but.
That's my point. Like, I get there's win now, but you also have to have something to spend now. And we are going to get to that point. It's going to be McKinnon and Kiviranta and Logan O'Connor on his wing.
Well, we have been saying, I think, for a while that the Avs didn't have the assets to do this. I think that the trade we had in our minds probably was a little splashier than this. Would we agree with that?
No.
I don't hope for big trades.
Gotcha. So this is kind of, again, something we didn't really see coming.
They kind of had to move George out to make the money work, but it still leaves them with 4 NHL contracted goalies in the organization. So they're just going to roll with it.
Well, I guess what does it say though that like I said, they were able to get Anonin out and Georgiev out in the process when we had kind of all decided there's probably not much of a market for either of those guys.
Well, it's interesting because they targeted teams that are doing poorly like that. I think it's just because it was a fit, because they probably had 5 teams that probably were in a position to move out goalies off the NHL roster. So in a way, lucky that these guys were fit. I mean, we've been talking about Blackwood for a long time just because it was obvious they got an Askarov. He's the future. Blackwood was going to be an expiring asset. It just made a lot of sense. So, I guess good for them for finding a decent fit. At least it wasn't like a panic deal. At least it didn't take a first or Richie or something horrifying. So it makes sense. But like I said, what I don't like is that it's short term. And I don't think this team should be thinking short term.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I am just hoping that the short term proves lucrative enough for you to be okay with the ramifications of thinking short term, which I know is, I mean, the Avs have 3 Stanley Cups in the 30 some or 20 some year existence. So
Or are they just chasing the sunset?
but at the same time, you also have to think of it like this. Cale Makar is only gonna be Cale Makar once. Nathan McKinnon is like, these guys are guys that you keep cashing in assets to try and make runs with. At least we're not trying to do this with Dylan Larkin. You know what I'm saying? Not to throw stones,
Yeah.
but that's the truth of the matter. They're cashing in on not just the assets they have, but the players that they have running the show here. And you have to keep going back to the well, in my opinion, as long as the most generational defender in a long time is on your roster. You got to keep going to the bank.
Yeah,
You
and I
gotta
know
make the
Jackie, you're a little
roster
down on this
better.
roster, but like the truth about winning a Stanley Cup is you have to have a good team, but you have to have injury luck. And obviously this season they haven't had injury luck, but the
No.
playoffs is when that really matters. So if this team is the healthiest team in the spring, which, you know, chances are low, right? That's never been Colorado's MO. But if they are, maybe they actually are the deepest team in the playoffs. You never know. You never know how that's going to work out. But you have to give them an opportunity to be a team that can win a playoff series, and that's what solving the goalie problem does. But also, like, maybe Blackwood is a long-term, you know, low AAV starter. You don't know. He might end up being a guy who wants a $4 million deal, and they can keep him, move Wedgwood out, and have Nabokov be the backup. You don't know. We don't know what the future holds. But there's a possibility that this trade is long-term, or it's good enough in the short term, or, I mean, I hope it doesn't happen. It could just blow up in our faces and be bad all around.
Yeah, I was going to say, right? wait until next week when Blackwood loses his first game, and then everyone's like,
But yeah, I'm super excited that excuse is gone at least. You don't have to hear about it anymore.
No. For now.
For now, exactly.
Well,
now
we talk about injury luck, though. Let's remember there was a pause, right? You know, and the Avs got a little healthy. There's a pause this year with the Four Nations tournament. Obviously, there'll be 6 people participating that won't get as much of a pause, but the rest of the roster will. And so there'll be 5. Sorry, there'll be some health to that for the rest of the squad, and that might bode well for the second half of the season for the Avs if they do start to get lucky in terms of that health. So, I mean, we got Ross Colton out here just sticking his foot out again 3 minutes into his first game back. And I'm like, oh my God, this man just does not care.
Well, it's a muscle memory thing. I mean,
for sure.
It's like when I play beer league and, you know, I get hurt, like my thigh gets hurt from blocking a shot. It's not going to stop me from going down and blocking another shot.
Yeah.
You know,
you're going down in beer league?
Well, I go down on the knee and block a shot. Yeah.
Oh, on the knee. Okay. I was like,
no, dude, I'm not laying out for a shot. You kidding me?
You wear a full cage, right? Because holy Moses.
Yeah.
I did that my first first game I played adult league as a 18-year-old coming off, you know, playing high school hockey. I went down for a shot, and my dad's friend was just like, kid, don't ever do that again.
No, I do the down to one knee and yeah, take the risk of getting hit somewhere else.
Yeah.
Going back to the draft picks, I didn't actually realize it's not horrible.
No, it's not.
It'll be better.
No,
the deadline hasn't happened yet.
So 2025, I'll just go year to year here. So 2025, they have the second round pick from the New York Rangers. That came from the Georgiev trade. They have 2 picks in the 4th round, their own pick, and then 1 from the Vancouver Canucks that came, I believe, from Tucker Pullman. And then 7th rounder, 2026 first round, 4th round, 2 5th rounds, and 2 7th rounds. And then 2027, they have all of them plus an additional round, 5th round from this recent trade. So it's not terrible, I guess. Yeah. But, I mean, I can only imagine that a good number of those will be gone.
And not like we can't go into more detail on Wednesday. So,
well, and you know, I think a factor to the future conversation too is like they have had success with college free agents, O'Connor, Malinsky. That's 2 more than most teams have had in the last couple of years. So, I mean, there's always a chance that well produces somebody as well. And for as many guys who don't pan out from that,
5 years.
But yeah, that's pretty good. You know, I don't think most teams are doing that.
Yeah.
So, you know, the
to
depth
supplement
conversation is the depth
nothing.
conversation. But yeah, but you can't. good depth isn't going to help you win if you don't have goalies and top end of the roster.
Yeah.
And right now, the Avs seem to have the top end of the roster pretty good, and the goaltending may be short up too. So, we'll see.
And the whole like depth, X amount of 20 goal scorers thing, it's worked like twice in 20 years. The thing that's worked a lot more than that is having superstars with a few complementary pieces around them. And so, long term, you want the deepest team you can possibly make. But short term, you can't watch a year of Makar, McKinnon, Ranton, and Prime go by with sub 900 net minding, period. It just can't happen. Can't do it. Can't do it, won't do it. Glad they didn't.
But we'll
Agreed.
see. We haven't seen what net minding we're getting.
No, but I, for
On
one,
our
am
team.
hopeful.
Will not be worse.
I'm hopeful that it's, I was going to say, I'm hopeful that it's better than the worst it's been in 10 years. So, and that slight improvement, we don't, just like we don't know how improved the goaltending will be, we don't know how improved the team will be as a whole once they do have good goaltending. So that's also true. And I think, like, if I can leave this conversation with anything, it's that the Avs are still trying to win now, baby. And I love it. I love it. I love that.
Me too.
Absolutely. That's exactly what this move is. Sure, there are a lot of question marks in the air, as we've kind of said, but it at least gives you a different look and a different idea of maybe what to expect.
Yep.
So,
Well,
might as well try something.
and my only beef is that all they can offer Nabokov when he gets here is an ELC, where he can supposedly get more with the KHL deal, I would think, but
I think could probably find him a couple mil.
Depends what promises are. It's always about promises.
that and that's assuming his team can pay him in the KHL.
Yeah.
Zing.
Well, let's just say there's a lot of different avenues of payroll.
You get
in
my
Russia.
point, though.
So I do,
assuming the team can even pay him. Or the
avenues
league.
of payroll. Very true, Jackie. Very true. Well, just to recap real quick, the Avalanche did make a monumental, at least in terms of making a move, trade today. We have 912 live viewers right now, and we just doubled in like 10 minutes. So I figured I would just lay out the trade again. Mackenzie, Blackwood, Givani Smith, and a 2027 fifth-round pick in exchange for Alexander Georgiev, Nikolai Kovalenko, a 2026 second-rounder, and a 2025 fifth-round pick. That is the bit of business that the Avalanche took care of today. We will see how things pan out. This panel is relatively balanced because we've got heavy arguments on both sides, baby, and that's good. That's a good thing. That just means that there's more drama for us Avalanche fans to soak up and enjoy the entertainment of this season. And guess what? We'll be back with you on Wednesday to just give a little bit of another reaction. Maybe we will see Mackenzie in Pittsburgh. If not, we'll probably get, oh man, that is going to be so hard to say both of those goalies' names in the same sentence. We got Mackenzie, Blackwood, and Scott Wedgwood will probably start in Pittsburgh, but who knows? We'll see how it goes. Let's see here. I want to check back on my comments just to make sure I didn't leave anybody out. We have some inappropriate comments. You got to love it. Let's see. Drew into 3C when healthy. How does this change the lineup at all for you guys?
Well, I was about to point out actually that because the Avs just reassigned Prishapov down to the Eagles, and the Eagles actually just shared a picture of him at practice. So maybe Smith is playing tomorrow.
Maybe
then?
Drew in is playing when he gets back.
I don't see Drew in playing. I
making
think
the move.
No,
Yeah.
no
I don't
way.
see
He's not
Drew
even
in.
on the trip.
Yeah.
No, I would about the 3C thing real quick. I don't think that's a good plan because I don't think Duran's going to play well in that spot. He hasn't even played center on this team at all, really.
Yeah. He's played, I think, wing, and that's it.
You like him married to McKinnon, period.
Yeah, I think, well, you got to think about how you're going to get the best out of him. He was okay on that second line when he came back, and he did look good, but I just think long-term, you just got to put him with McKinnon. I mean, that's just how it's going to work. Like, if you're not leaving him there, then you really have no argument about signing him.
Yeah.
He's not going to be as enamored to sign, and
neither of the Avs probably.
Yeah, exactly. So
if he has to be a top 6 player.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Anything else that the four of you want to touch on before we call it quits here? We've been live for about an hour impromptu, so thank you for joining me.
Yeah, I think I'll just say thanks for listening to all of
Yeah.
us, because my goodness, this was a big deal.
Yeah.
Big news deal. I'm happy this didn't happen tomorrow when I'm on a plane. So
Well, that's
On
usually
game
how it does
day,
work.
yeah.
appreciate the Avalanche being thoughtful of that. And yeah, I think we've kind of touched on it a little bit already, of like, this gives the Avs a new look. This gives, new guys new opportunities. We're really going to see what this team is made out of. I said it at the beginning of the road trip. We're going to get a really good idea of what this team is going to look like. The entire month of December, except like 5 games, is on the road. So this is a really big turning point in the season.
Yeah.
I think we saw a glimpse of what this team is capable of this weekend when, you go back to back and you win both games. The second one pretty darn convincingly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you add some more elements to the team, and it's going to be a really interesting watch, going into the spring. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. I know I've mentioned that I'm like hesitant about this move. It's more so about the Kovalenko side than the Blackwood side, but I'm still excited nonetheless.
Yep. Ezra, final thought.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. Brennan, final thought.
Like I said, can't go wrong with a guy who has a black eye in his headshot.
That's right, baby. Jackie, final thought.
I mean, overall, I really don't hate it, but I don't like rental deals. So
yeah,
that part remains to be seen.
That's your T-shirt. Overall, I don't
no
hate it.
Rentals.
Or no rentals.
Ever.
If you think about it, Cogs was a rental.
But no, he wasn't, because he stayed.
Yeah, but then he did stay, but he was a rental every year.
Okay, that's the point. Is this a rental or not? So we don't know that right now. But
if he earns the chance to come back, that'd be great.
Yes, he
that's
will have
a concern.
Yeah. Well, I like that final thought. When Evan, you said that you got the news, and you were like, "Oh crap! Holy moly!" I had a similar reaction when I initially got the news. I just got a text from a buddy, and it said, "What'd you think of the goalie trade?" And in my mind, I was just thinking about the Annunen trade. And so I just kind of went about my business. And then my wife texted me and said, "Are you going to do an emergency pod today?" ? And I said, "Wait, what goalie trade?" So that's how today went.
Funny.
Yeah. So my final thought is I'm excited to watch the next Avalanche game, and that makes me happy as an Avs fan. And I think with that said, the management, ownership have been doing good business for quite some time. And I think you add this to that, because this, to me, at a very minimum, proves they are listening, watching, and care a heck of a whole lot that the Avalanche find success. So, folks, there are 1,000 of you officially watching us live. It means the world to us that you would take the time to listen to the 5 of us talk about Avalanche hockey. Please.
Well, please come back on Wednesday then.
Yeah,
since
come
we
back
have
on
such
Wednesday.
a large audience.
And follow.
Join us at 3:30 on Wednesday. 3:30 Mountain.
3:30 Mountain on Wednesday. Give us a follow. Go on Twitch, X, Blue Sky, YouTube, all that fun stuff. Spotify. Smash that subscribe. Turn on the alerts so you know every single time we are live. And we will do this again. Every single time there's a trade, we're going to give you a trade reaction. Every single time it's a new week, you're going to have a new Mile High Hockey Lab. Brandon, what are you trying to sign language to me?
Follow.
Follow.
Just, I'm heading my name saying follow.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like sending me like, third base signals. Like we gotta figure it. Well,
you have
folks,
to be on YouTube to understand what we're saying.
Exactly. Well, folks, on behalf of Brandon Vogt, Ezra Potter, Jackie K, and Evan Liu, my name is Adrian Hernandez. This has been a trade reaction courtesy of the Mile High Hockey Lab. And we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday at 3:30 Mountain Time. But in between then and now, go Colorado Avalanche.
Thank you for tuning into the Mile High Hockey Lab.